Hello, Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. I'm the RJB0 coming at you with that. Ooh, look what time it is. What time is it, you ask? It's time for a deck review. Anyway, this week I had a great time testing the Genex Valley Spamtacular Surprise. Or at least, that's what I call it. Anyway, I highly recommend this deck to any player who wants to have some hardcore fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Oh my god, I can't even say that with a straight face. Okay, maybe not some hardcore fun playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Maybe just some fun playing hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! But it is a great deck, very fun, very explosive. Let's get down to the deck review. Of course, I like to eat my dessert first, so I'm going to talk about what I liked about the deck. Like I said before, it is very explosive. It produces pluses faster than your local congressman can produce bullshit. And that is fast. For those of you who have never played against the deck or have played it and just have no idea what I'm talking about when I say Genex Valley Spamtacular Surprise, it is a deck that primarily comprises of a few machines, a lot of wins, and a whole lot of traps. It has two really big main combos. The first is the very highly explosive one that produces pluses by way of special summoning, field clearing, and deck thinning. It actually replaces itself in your hand every time you use it, and this is how it works. It starts with just 3 cards. Your first card, Divine Wind of Mist Valley. Your second card, Genex Ally Birdman. And your third card, any the heck wind monster you want. So the way you do it is you start by summoning your wind monster. You don't want your opponent to get suspicious by playing the Divine Wind first, otherwise they'll get rid of this card before you can use this card. Anyway, once you've summoned this card, you can use this card, and then you bounce this card back to your hand using this card. Then, this card, here, not that card, this card goes off. Because you bounced a wind monster, this card, back to your hand, that's not a wind monster, this card, back to your hand, you can special summon any wind monster that is level 4 or lower from your deck. You summon a Genex Blast Fan, which I don't actually have a copy of here, which then adds another of this card to your hand. And I didn't mean that card, I meant this card. So once you've got that field figured out, and once you've figured out my explanation of that combo, you can do any number of things. First, if your opponent has a monster with less than 1900 attack, you can run over it with your now 1900 Birdman because you bounced a wind monster back to your hand. After that, or if you decide not to do that, you can sync this with your Blast Fan, and Blast Fan, being a spellcaster, can summon Arcanite Magician and do some hardcore popping. Once that is over, you have already replaced the entire combo in your hand because you added this back to your hand, or you added one of these to your hand with Blast Fan, you added this back to your hand with Birdman, and this is already on the board, so you're set up to make your next Arcanite Magician. But even after you do that, it has a really, really cool thing that it does. It is really good at recycling cards because of Mist Valley Falcon. You can use cards like Fiendish Chain over and over and over again with Mist Valley Falcon, and you could also use special summoning cards like Call the Haunted. You activate Call the Haunted, you summon a monster, you synchro or overlay with it, and I have hiccups, sorry about that. You synchro or overlay with that monster, and then you've still got your Call of the Haunted. You attack with your Mist Valley Falcon, adds back the Call of the Haunted. You can set it again and use it to special summon another monster from your graveyard. So it is a very good deck for recycling things. So this deck is very explosive, and it's got a lot of good combos. It doesn't even really have any issues with Thunder King Ryo because of Mist Valley Falcon. So what's wrong with it? Well, it has won a regional already, which means that it can't be a terrible deck, and it is a very good deck, in fact. The things that it has trouble with, of course, is consistency. Consistency is always a big issue for any of the decks I test. It's some kind of curse. But there are ways that you can get around the consistency issue that make the deck a little bit less powerful. For instance, you can use a Gusto engine to make sure that you always have a wind monster available to use this combo. The issue I have with that version is it doesn't produce the same kind of power as the Mist Valley Falcon version, which I like a lot better. But that brings me to my techs of the week. If you want to use your Mist Valley Falcon version especially well, you can add consistency to the deck by putting in a lot of chainable traps, and then an old card called Winged Rhinos, which is a very strange beast type, I think. It might even be Beast Warrior. And basically what it does is whenever a trap card is activated, you can chain Winged Rhinos to that trap card and add it back to your hand. So you activate this, you put your Winged Rhinos on the board, and then you put a Chainable Trap down on the board, and you're basically guaranteed a plus off of this Divine Wind of Mist Valley because of your Winged Rhinos. So that adds a lot of consistency to the deck, and you can also use Terraforming to make sure you get this. But the other tech of the week has a lot more to do with those cards that you just can't seem to get rid of. And that tech of the week is Big Bang Shot. And this was one of my favorite things to do the entire week with this deck, was to equip Big Bang Shot to an opponent's monster that you can't run over, and you can't get out a Synchro or Xyz monster that can get rid of it. Then, you summon your Mist Valley Falcon, and you attack their monster. Mist Valley Falcon's effect requires you to bounce back that Big Bang Shot. Big Bang Shot's effect then goes off and removes from play, without destroying, just removes from play the monster that was equipped. And then the best part is, since you're replaying your attack, you do not have to bounce another card for Mist Valley Falcon's attack. So it's easy spot removal. It is a plus since you don't lose any card advantage, and you can just use it over and over and over again. It is amazing. Now, one of the best things about this deck, besides the fact that you can generate tons of pluses with this combo over here, besides the fact that you can recycle ridiculously broken cards with your Mist Valley Falcon, is the fact that the best has yet to come for this deck. The reason I say that is because Lord of Tachyon Galaxy and Cosmo Blazer, that's the next one, is actually coming out with support for this deck. They're doing it unknowingly. They think they're creating these new archetypal decks that'll be, they'll make all the sales. But it's this deck. This deck is the one that's really going to benefit. When Cosmo Blazer comes out, even with the Harpies will even add consistency and power to this deck. More importantly, though, it's coming out with Lightning Plover, which is a card that makes this deck gain a lot more spot removal and even more pluses. If you thought that there were crazy pluses going on in this deck, you didn't know it until you saw the version using Plover, Lightning Plover. There was probably a much better way I could have said that, but I digress. Lightning Plover is amazing for this deck, and I cannot wait for it to come out. But even that isn't the best thing. With Lord of Tachyon Galaxy coming out, you get your Phantom Beastcraft monsters, which their effects special summon tokens. So you can add on the pluses of special summoning tokens to the pluses of this deck. Imagine a monster that you can normal summon, and like a Stratos, produces 2 tokens, and then you special summon Birdman by bouncing that card back, and this goes off? This is crazy plus stuff. This deck is going to be amazing for next format, and even better with Big Bang Shot. This deck can easily take down Genex. You will have no issues with it, not to mention the fact that this deck has very few issues with cards like Macrocosmos and Soul Drain. I highly recommend this deck, and I think it is going places. So, until my next deck review, you guys should totally check this out, and I am sorry to be moving on from it. I think I might have to make it for later. This is the RJB0 signing out.